This is the Swedish forest and this is my home. I bought this a few years ago and I've been renovating it bit by bit, battling all the seasons. The kitchen was the first room that I finished and now it's time for this room, the smallest in the house. This is what we're working with. A plain room next to the entrance with a second door that leads to the kitchen and two walls with windows. This is the original floor plan and this is what I've been working on. Since the house is only 45 square meters or 485 square feet, I have to be clever with my design and I need to integrate several functions here. Built-in units are going to give purpose to every square inch, so this is what I'm building. A library with a reading nook, a desk space for work and study and art, Banquette seating, so I have the option to add a table and use it as a dining room when I have guests, and I'm going to use the same banquettes to hide a bed. The room is 10 square meters or 110 square feet. Let's start building. First I need to get the basics done. I start by removing the vinyl that was on the floor and I put in new tongue and groove floorboards. It's surprisingly uninspiring work, just like sanding and painting the ceiling. I took out the old windows and tried to restore them the best I could, but honestly I was happy when all these jobs were done and I could begin the real work. All the built-in units that were going to completely transform this little room into hopefully a warm, efficient and highly functional space. The first project is the library wall, which I'm building around the door to the kitchen. I'm going to start with the little decorative shelves that sit around the doorway and the smaller shelf units to the right of these, which will also be an extension of the desk space. But first, the framework. As I'm going to clad it in timber, I thought the easiest way to construct it is by essentially creating a new wall, which will sit in front of the old one. The framework for this will be fixed to the floor and the ceiling. When that's in place, I'm adding the framework pieces that will inform the recesses for the doorway nooks and the shelving. But before I can continue the library, I have a quick side quest. I'm adding new trim to the windows and starting a section of the wall cladding because it will sort of interlink with the library and it will be easier if I do it now. The tongue and groove I'm using is the same as the flooring and I'll be staining it a light warm brown. Don't get me wrong, this pine on the walls wasn't the original plan. When I first started designing this house, I quickly realized that I'd have to design it quite simply. Design things that I might actually be able to make myself because I have no experience in building before buying this house. I only have experience in design. So I went for a warm but minimalist cabin feel and I wanted the walls to be clad in a beautiful solid wood or a veneer in some calming species like these examples. But then I found out how expensive everything nice is. So I ended up with the cheapest tongue and groove I could find. This wall bulges out a bit. And adjusted my expectations till I'd convinced myself that this was a decent alternative, considering my limited options. So we are embracing the wood, and while I don't think a knotted pine would be most people's first choice, it still adds a lot of warmth to the space. And honestly, it looks great in the kitchen. As opposed to continuing that wall, I'm actually going to start cladding this. I was also trying to imagine how long it was actually going to take for me to finish this room, and I have no idea. It would be a while. Up until now, building this framework and cladding the wall, I've been working on this room for 9 days already. Okay, I managed to get this together. It took an incredible amount of time to get this in and to get it in straight. Okay, let's see if it kind of fits. Okay, yes. Okay. Now the real library is up. I'm going to have long shelves and closed storage underneath for all my sewing materials. It took a while to figure out how much detail I wanted to add here, but in the end I decided to keep the joinery really simple. The first task is to clad the recess in the tongue and groove. One of these shelves is going to be a little bit different, the one that's at counter height. I wanted to add something different because everything is the same timber in here, the same wood, but I wasn't quite sure what to do, and I found this one thing, and it's a little bit cliche, it's very cliche. It's not something that I was planning on doing, and I like it, but it's cliche, and I decided to go for it anyways. So I'll show you. Light edge tree thing. Yes. Okay. Alright. Number one. Got some leftover material from the shelves, so I'm going to use that. After some measuring, I'm cutting all the pieces I'll need for the cupboards below the life edge shelf, the main dividers, the bottom place, and the framework it will sit on. Shelf is going to sit here. Hopefully I did it right. I have a little door. Second door. It's a better fit. Looking pretty good. They've been glued overnight. One for this side, and one for this side. Little doors. Two of them. The first project is done. I have a library with space for books, decorative items, and cabinets for sewing materials. I'm going to work on my desk space now. This will be in front of the narrow shelves, continue underneath the window, and take up the entire wall so I have ample space for all the things I want to do, like sewing. The inspiration is simple, but I haven't quite figured out the shelving underneath the unit yet. All I know is that I'll have something on both ends, and I'd like to be able to store my printer and notebooks, paper and patterns. The tabletop will be made of the same wood I used for my kitchen countertop, so this desk sort of acts as a continuation of the kitchen counter into this room. very dangerous. I'm going to add shelves on the other side as well, but I'm going to do those once the banquette seating is in place. I have two reasons for this seating. The first is to create the option to use this room as a dining space because there's no room anywhere else. Secondly, I want to hide a bed in this room. When I first saw this seat that pulls out into a bed, I then noticed that fan builds use this technique quite a lot to save on space. You still have a bed, you still have storage, so this turned out to be the perfect solution. Here we go, banquette seating that will extend underneath the desk. I started doing the detail drawings for this. So we have a banquette seating, and then the middle section, which I drew in red, is going to pull out to turn into a bed space. So I'll be using the cushions from the seat and the backrest to turn that into a bed when it's pulled out. This little build turned into the most joinery intensive thing I've built so far. Probably a little bit overly detailed, but I also saw it as experience for future projects that might require more detailed woodworking. After figuring out the build in detail, I cut every single piece for the framework. I ended up with a huge collection of different joints. I did mostly make them up myself, so I don't even know how good they are and how much I will benefit from the effort I put into cutting them, but either way it was good practice, and putting them all together is a little bit like playing with Lego, which is kind of fun. look at this. This is very solid. Let me show you. I can lie on this, which is good because, well, because this is going to be my bed. I got a whole bunch of these. I am on my way to the hardware store. I'm on a busy road and I'm just stopping to take a quick break. I have my little cute bike with me, the fast one, and I attached a little bike trailer, so it's looking cute. I'm gonna drink a bit of coffee. What I'm doing is that I'm attaching them from two sides, from the back and the top, and I'm going to glue them. Hopefully they will stay straight and in place. I need the bottom for the drawer, and I'm going to use OSB. Ooh! Okay, I have a drawer. I can fit things in here. Okay, so one drawer down, and now I've got the other 3 to make from scratch. This is amazing. I would show you what I'm doing, but it's absolutely impossible. Working in this corner is not easy. I'm putting in cabinet hinges. I ended up putting in this little door. I don't know where the fluff stops and starts. How much fluff do I have? The final finishes, library, desk and banquette seating is done, but I have one more wall. I'm not going to build any units against it, but I want a space for art. I'm going to create a cozy reading nook here with a big comfortable chair in front of this wall in the library, and I figured a dedicated space for a large piece of artwork could really lift up this all-wood room. With all these finer details, this room is finally finished. The art wall, trim work, the last shelves, lighting, it's been an adventure. But there's one bonus project that's really going to finish this room, and that's a little side table. I was looking at little like details like this and this, and some shapes that are a little bit more organic to offset all of the very square shapes. I've ended up with a potentially convoluted design, which is what I tend to do. But in essence, the design is very simple. Different pieces of wood sort of slotting into each other. So I've been looking at these pieces, and I don't really have one piece which is the right size for the tabletop. So I'm thinking I'm going to take these two pieces and glue them together. I've never made a freestanding piece of furniture before, so this is another personal challenge. There are a few elements to this table. A tabletop with a smaller shelf underneath that could hold a drink, legs and a base. I'm using the nicer planed interior wood for the legs and leftover construction timber for the base. I have the same tabletop as the desk and the kitchen counter. All I need to do is cut all the pieces, glue and screw it together, and then I should have a little table. Last night, I put this triangular piece of wood and glued it in between these two legs. Everything in this room is the same light timber. The chair I have is white, so I decided to go for a contrasting color, something a little bit unexpected. This stain is like an ink black, and it is so cool. Wow.